This is Jocko podcast number 485 with Carrie Helton and me, Jocko Willink. Good evening, Carrie.
Good evening.
So I stumbled across a document, we'll say. We could call it a book. And this document is called the Hunn-Beating Proverb book, which the title out of the gate caught my attention. It's published in 1918 by the Continental Publishing Company up in Canada. I believe it was in Toronto was where this company was, and it was published in 1918, like I said, and it was obviously geared toward warriors, in this case, the Canadian soldiers who were fighting against the Germans in World War I. And the primary reason that the Germans were called Huns, have you heard the Germans called Huns before?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so it's the actual Huns themselves were an ancient nomadic people that lived in Central Asia, the Caucasus, and Eastern Europe in the 4th and 5th centuries. And there's probably only one Hun that you've heard of, and that's Attila the Hun. But they're not that associated, like, okay, Eastern Europe and Central Asia and the Caucasus, that's not Germany. So why are we calling the Germans Huns? Well, it's because there was a speech that was given 27 July 1900 in Bremerhaven by Wilhelm II. And this was as the German soldiers were going and being sent off to China to put down the Boxer Rebellion. This is what he said. He said, "If you come before the enemy, he will be defeated. No quarter will be given. Prisoners will not be taken. Whoever falls into your hands is forfeited. Just as 1,000 years ago, the Huns, under their king Attila, made a name for themselves, one that even today makes them seem mighty in history and legend, so may the name Germany be affirmed by you in such a way in China that no Chinese will ever again dare to look cross-eyed at a German." End quote. So it's a pretty freaking aggressive. Talk about some rules of engagement getting wild. No quarter, no prisoners. So that's what he's saying. They're gonna create a reputation like the Huns had. Well, the Brits heard this. Now you fast forward to World War I. The Brits and eventually the Canadians and eventually the Americans, they took that speech and they took that name and they ran with it and started calling the Germans Huns as an insult to them and their behavior. And so interestingly, the subtitle to this little book is containing many proverbs that point to the destruction of arrogance, tyranny, villainy, vice, and the monstrous militarism of which Germany has been guilty. And there's actually, we're not going to go through all the proverbs that are in this book, but there was only one where I thought to myself, well, that's some straight just anti-German propaganda going here, but I'll point it out. But that being said, let's face it, when you talk about arrogance and villainy and vice, these are things that we can all be susceptible to that type of behavior, becoming a little bit arrogant, falling to our vices. And so I think there's some pretty good wisdom in this book for all of us. So let's get into it. Let's get into the Hunn-Beating Proverb book. And by the way, the book has no, normally nowadays, if someone's going to put out a book of wisdom, or Proverbs or whatever, they have a preamble and they'll kind of explain, what they're thinking and how it came. And there's none of that. It just goes right into it. And that's exactly what. So it starts off. A brave man is often a desperado. That's the first one we're going with here. And to me, immediately I thought of, this is the person that you're walking down the street, someone that has nothing to lose and wants to start a fight with you. That's not going to be a good move. So don't do that. Next one, a crooked stick will have a crooked shadow. Something to keep in mind. Who are you interacting with? I mean, obviously they're not referring to sticks here. They're talking about people. So the crooked stick is going to have a crooked shadow. It's going to be hard for that to change. Next one. A curse sticks to no one but the cursor. Man, you got to keep that in check. That's like similar to the ones you hear if you're filled with hatred for someone. It hurts you more than it hurts them. And that's why forgiveness is so important. Forgiveness is a big, I got some things I'm kind of teeing up right now. I might go through it in the muster, but the idea of forgiveness, not only forgiveness of, hey, I made a mistake and I take ownership of that mistake. Well, if you take ownership of a mistake that was bad and it caused significant issues, and you aren't able to forgive yourself for making that mistake, it's going to be problematic. Same thing with if you have someone that works for you or with you and they make a mistake and they take ownership or whatever, you take ownership, whatever the case may be, but you can't forgive them for what happened. You're not going to get through it. Same thing with relationships. Like if your kids do something that you didn't want them to do or they shouldn't have done, and you can't truly forgive them, it's not going to work. If you're married and your wife or husband does something that you can't truly forgive them for. Now listen, are there some offenses that are unforgivable? I would say yeah, there are. And if that happens, I wouldn't prolong what I believe to be the inevitable, right? But if you can forgive them, and it takes work, because you got to put your ego in check, because normally you can forgive someone, but your ego won't, and then you hold that grudge against them forever, and everything's a problem. It's funny. I got some things that happened with my wife that Big H. Like, so she threw away, I had this pillow. This was like 25 years ago. I had a pillow that was like really old. Because, when you're a young dude in the Navy, you're not spending money on anything. So I had this pillow that was so old that it had become flattened. And it was probably like 4 inches thick, right? But I would like take it when I was sleeping, like between my legs, like so my legs aren't like on each other sweating. I put it there, whatever. It just was like a little, like, let's face it, was a little bit of a lucky pillow. Well, I came home one day, that thing was gone. I probably had that pillow for 10 years, something like that. Kind of like this old futon. Back in the day, you weren't getting a bed. There wasn't no mattress firm or a place that was going to deliver me. You're just going to get a futon from a yard sale somewhere. So I had this pillow. She threw it away. And I still bring it up. Yeah, we laugh about it. I had a couple tank tops, and they were old. They were like from bars overseas, kind of stained with Guinness and whatever, just gnarly old, but had a lot of good memories in them. And one day I came home, those were gone. So now what do I have to do? Can I hold that grudge for, what's it been now, 28 years? Sure, I can hold it. And we have fun with it. But imagine if you couldn't like truly forgive. If there's some offense, like I can forgive my wife that she threw away some of my prized possessions, which probably had a total accumulated value of like $20. But if you can't overcome that, if something happens to unforgivable, it's going to be problematic. And things are going to come up, man. They're going to come up. And so that's with relationships that you have, but then also with yourself. Like if you're going to make mistakes in life, you're going to do things that you shouldn't have done. And when that happens, you take ownership of them, of course. But just like I talk about when, if someone close to you dies, like remember, don't dwell. You have to do the same thing with mistakes that you made. Remember, don't dwell. Yep. I made that mistake. It was bad. Here are the consequences. I'm not going to let it happen again, but I'm not going to dwell in the past and woe is me and I wish this never would have happened, etc.
Is that what forgiving yourself looks like to you? It's like just not dwelling?
Yeah, I think it's understanding. Just like when your kid does something stupid or your employee does something stupid or your boss does something stupid. People are going to make mistakes, man. We're human. And by the way, it is extremely difficult to operate with people without forgiveness, right? Because no one goes through life without making mistakes. Your boss is going to make mistakes. If you can't forgive him and be like, oh, you know what? He had the best intent in mind. I get it. Or maybe, hey, he had a bad intent in mind and he got busted and now we all see it and he's asking for forgiveness or apologizing or owning it. And okay, cool. And that might take a little longer than an honest mistake. Like when someone has bad intent, much more difficult to forgive them, right? When someone is intentionally doing something that is wrong, it's not happening. Like it's going to be very difficult, much more difficult to forgive. But when someone makes a mistake, you have to be able to say, okay, I get it. And not only that, expectations. Like if I put such high expectations on other people and they're not meeting them, or even whatever expectations I put on them, you can't expect people to always be perfect. And basically a lot of times you can't expect an A+ from people. A lot of times you got to expect kind of like a C or maybe like a B-. You know what I mean? And if everyone that gets a B- you can't work with and you can't deal with, it's going to be really difficult for you to go through life. It just is. It's going to be very difficult for you to be part of a team. It's going to be very difficult for you to understand that people have shortfalls. People have shortfalls. You watch Peaky Blinders, right?
Oh yeah.
So one of the interesting things about Peaky Blinders is like you got the different characters in there, and you got Tommy, and Tommy's, pretty much making good calls. He's like getting an A, right, for his making calls. But bro, he's got like his brother's on heroin, his other brother's just like shooting people and getting in fights, and his like those other members of the family are doing things that are wrong and they're mistakes. Now, we could argue whether their intent is good or bad, but for the most part, they're just making mistakes. They're just making bad moves, bad calls, emotional calls. And Tommy's just kind of having to be like, all right, he's filled with forgiveness. Like he truly, he's forgiving his brothers on a daily basis for their shortfalls.
It feels like there's a level of all the things you're saying, right? Peaky Blinders included. There's like a level of understanding, I guess, where
totally. It's like, yeah, that's what's his name? I can't remember the character's name right now. But
Arthur.
Yeah, that's Arthur. You know what I mean? Like, okay, got to go bail him out of jail again. And listen, at a certain point, let's not go down the road of enablement. Mm-hmm. But man, Arthur's kind of who Arthur is. He is who he is. And at a certain point, you're like, that's who he is. And what we have to do is set up an apparatus. That is enablement, right? And he tries to pull him out of it. And if you have someone that's got some self-destructive behavior like that, obviously you got to draw the line. But, and part of forgiveness there, I think, is letting go. So if you want to go, you want to go down a self-destructive path, I'm going to do what I can to help you. Oh, you start drinking, you start doing meth, you start doing drugs, you start whatever the vice grabs a hold of you. I'm going to do everything I can. Like, Carrie, bro, what are you doing? Like, let's stop this. Let's get you in rehab. I'm going to do all those things. And at a certain point, my forgiveness of you is going to be not just to kind of let it go. Hey, man, I did what I can do. You can't save everybody, by the way. And when the demon of vice, whether it's alcohol, whether it's gambling, whether it's drugs, whether it's whatever vice someone grabs a hold of, that's a demon, man. In their heads, it's a demon, and it can't be overcome sometimes. So being able to say, yeah, the demon won. Like if you got in a grappling match with Gordon Ryan and you lost, I wouldn't be mad at you. I would think, hey man, I wish you would have trained more, but you lost to Gordon Ryan. If you lost the battle to alcohol, I'd be disappointed. I'd be bummed out, but I would have to at some point go, that's the way, he lost that battle. And I don't even know if this is right or wrong. At a certain point, that demon is stronger than you are. And I can't get in the ring with you. Right? Just like I can't, if you're grappling against Gordon Ryan, I can't get in the ring with you. I can't get on the mat with you. If you're grappling with alcoholism, or you're grappling with drug addiction, or you're grappling with gambling, or whatever that vice is, I can stand on the side and coach you. I literally can. I can stand on the side and coach you, just like I can coach you against Gordon Ryan. But you got to do the work and you got to make it happen. And if you lose either one of those matches, I at a certain part of my mentality, my brain and my heart, I have to go, he got beat by the demon and I forgive him. I mean, I'm not going to give him money. I can't afford to invest anything else with him, but I don't hold it against him. I hope everything works out. And you know, it's the same thing. You know, we're talking about vices, but it's the same thing with, you know, when someone's got a big ego. It's like, yeah, you lost that battle, man. It's a bummer. It's sad to see. I actually don't even hold it against you. Like if you get out of control with your ego and arrogance and you mess up your life, which happens more often than people think, even then, I'm like, yeah, he lost that battle. You know, he lost that battle against that demon. I hope he can reverse it, get a sweep, maybe get on top, maybe score some points. But I'm not even mad at that. So, which is a very critical jump in thought process, because if you think about, if you got your personality, right? And let's say you have a little bit of arrogance. And so you do some things and you do some dumb things, you whatever little move you make and you take care of yourself and you don't think anyone can see, like you're doing these little things. I get it, man. You're up against a tough demon, man. That the ego is a tough demon and it's strong. And I hope over time we can get you to change. I hope you can see that, you know, you don't need to be that way. And maybe you even ruin our relationship. Maybe you do things and you screw me over and I'm like, okay, I guess, you know, Carrie can't really be around anymore. But even then, I'll be like, if a year later you come back and you're like, hey, dude, I was really messed up. I shouldn't have done that. And I'd be like, cool. Sounds like you got a sweep on the demon and now you're on top and we can be good again. So I think that forgiveness is just such a key component of going through life, If you can't have forgiveness for yourself, if you can't have forgiveness for others, you can have that curse from this quote right here, that curse that you're trying to put on other people, it's going to come back and get you. Check. Next one. A clean glove often hides a dirty hand. You know, pretty straightforward. A deceitful peace is worse than an open war. Okay, it's definitely a good one to pay attention to. That's right up there with hold your friends close and your enemies closer, right? So having a relationship that's based on lies, that's based on deceit, but we're still putting up a front that everything's cool, that, according to this proverb, is worse than just like, let's fight. That's one thing that was nice about being in a platoon, was generally speaking, it's too close contact that you can have this sort of deceitful peace. It's gonna come out. Like there's too many friction points for a friction point that's getting heated up to not set a fire. What's it like in the Marine Corps? Same thing?
Yeah, very similar. We used PT as an outlet for this all the time. You know, we worked out 0-5 PT, you know, every day. And we framed it as training, right? McMAP. So Marine Corps Martial Arts Program, you know, we do a little...
we framed it as training.
Yeah, so we you know, go back behind the shop, we sit, you know, do a little bullpen circle, put the two people beefing in the center and back to back, and you say go, and you got to start from back to back, and you make it happen from there.
Let's get it.
You know, and we exercise those demons, bro.
Yeah.
We, you know, get it out of the system.
Yeah. And that's better than having, you know, deceitful peace.
Oh, yeah.
Now, does this mean you go open war on everybody? No, that's not what we're saying. And by the way, you so many of these little moments of like, always tell people the truth. You know, I know there's been people say you never lie about anything. Jordan Peterson was like hard on this, and people would ask me about this kind of thing, and I'd be like, yeah, but start with yourself. Start with yourself. If you're going to tell the truth to, you know, if I want to tell you the truth about something, I need to start by telling myself the truth. So if you're doing something that I don't like, the truth is there's something wrong with me. The truth is I'm letting something bother me. The truth is I haven't given you the guidance. The truth is I haven't explained things to you properly. So start with yourself. If you want to start an open war, start that open war with yourself. That's where it begins. Next one. A few vices darken many virtues. This is in the military. They have a saying. I believe it's one aw shit can cancel out 100 attaboys. If you make one mistake, it's like it's all thrown out. And here you got someone that's got a really good, lots of good things going on, lots of good virtues, but they got that vice or a couple little vices, and that darkens everything. So be careful. Next one, after one vice, a greater follows. That's like the gateway vice, right? The gateway drug.
Slippery slope.
The slippery slope. Who was it? I'm trying to think of, I think it might have been Chad Robichaux was on the show, and he was talking about getting people that were like drug dealers, and how if you find a person, like they were looking for human traffickers. And how do you find a human trafficker? Well, you just start with someone that's selling drugs, because if they're selling drugs, then they're smuggling drugs. If they're smuggling drugs, then they're smuggling more drugs. If they're smuggling more drugs, then they're smuggling people, and they're selling people, and they just don't care. So, and it's not 10 out of 10, but it's like 8 out of 10 or 7 out of 10. If you're willing to get on that slippery slope, 8 out of 10, you're going all the way down. So be careful with that little action that you take. That little action that you take that might not seem that bad. And I tell you what, especially these days, I work with law enforcement a decent amount, and you start looking at the numbers of fentanyl overdoses. Again, I'm just taking like a tangential turn here, but whereas when you were a kid, Carrie, you could go out and try some ecstasy or whatever, and whatever, like all good, you're at work on Monday morning, or you're back at school Monday morning. These days, you go out and try some ecstasy, which is supposed to be a little fun night drug, and next thing you know, you're ODing from fentanyl. So that's an involuntary escalation of vices that you're going to get. So kids out there, don't do it. Don't do it.
You said something the other day. You were like, we were talking about stuff that was going on, and you were like, I don't accept that. And that was such a powerful thing. It was just something, when I heard it, I was like, damn, like I need to start saying that to myself about some things, where it's like, no, I don't accept that. There's no next step down the slippery slope. No, just negative, keep moving.
I need to keep this. I was thinking about, occasionally I'll get asked, what views have changed for you? And I'm normally like, well, not really many. I don't really know any, because guess what? How's your view changed on leadership? Well, it's cover, move, simple, prioritize, and execute, decentralize, command, take ownership of things like that. Really hasn't changed. But one thing that, if you listen to the past 10 years of the podcast, in the beginning of the podcast, when people would ask about alcohol, I'd be like, well, there's a bonding and it's okay. And it's like, you do some stuff and blah, blah, blah. And I was somewhat forgiving. Going back to the forgiveness thing, somewhat forgiving of alcohol. And now I just have no forgiveness. I have nothing good to say about it. And I believe it is just 100% bad, 100% bad. If you listen to early podcasts, I probably sounded like alcohol was 50% bad or 60% bad. But now I think it's 100% bad. There's nothing good is going to come from it. That's one vice that's going to lead to others. You're not getting rolled up at 2:00 in the morning for a fight sober. It's not happening. It's not happening. So let's keep that in mind. Next one. A fool's tongue is long enough to cut his own throat. So, yeah, let them run their mouths. That's another thing, I get asked of, how do I get people to listen to me? But also, I got this person that loves to talk so much. Well, let him talk. Let him talk. But keep going. And eventually, they'll be quiet. A grinning face often hides a foul heart. Good little heads up there. A headstrong man and a fool may wear the same cap. By the way, there's some older language in this, and you're going to find there's a lot of the word fool. So keep that one in mind. You're just going to be hearing a lot of fool. But isn't it interesting? A headstrong man and a fool may wear the same cap. What are we talking about here? We're talking about being so stuck in your ways and so set on your own idea that you're acting like a fool. Oh, I'm just determined. No, I'm just a stubborn. I just have a strong personality. That's a great one, right? I'm just one of these people who got a strong personality. Oh, so you're an idiot. So you're a fool. If it's really, this goes the explanation effort meter. Mm-hmm. How hard is it for me to explain my idea? At a certain point, if it's so hard to explain to you, Carrie, why we should do things a certain way, or why should we go to this place, or why we should do this thing, if it's that hard for me to explain, maybe I should check myself. Maybe I'm just being stubborn. Maybe I should not be a fool. All players cannot win. Phew. Important thing to think about. All players cannot win. And I think it's the most important thing to think about here is how often are you the player that's not going to win? If you're me, it's quite a bit. I wasn't winning much, It's if we think we're going to win every single time, we're going to have problems. All players cannot win, and sometimes you're going to get bested by someone else, and that's frustrating. I was talking to a kid the other day about winning and losing, and it was actually a female. And I said, well, do you like winning more or do you hate losing? And immediate response, I hate losing. Immediate response. Which is a drive. Some people are driven by that. Michael Jordan, you hear these stories, and if you watch The Last Dance, you watch The Last Dance, right? Oh, yeah. Yeah, like someone beats him in some freaking card game, and he would let it fester inside of him. And that's cool if you're going to use that to drive. But, every game in life is not just a game. There's real things in life where you sometimes are going to lose. All players cannot win. And I think it's important to recognize that. Recognize that all players cannot win. Look, try hard to win. It's kind of like the winning at all costs statement that I did a few years ago. And boy, we suckered in a lot of people with that one. And Echo made it into a whole video, and he set it up real nice. It was me saying, we have to win at all costs. And that was the big hook, as you guys in the media world say, right? Me saying, you got to win at all costs. And people were like, yeah, that's right. But then you go into the video and into the statement that I was making was what that means is win at all costs. What that means, you have to compromise. You have to make exceptions. You have to take a different path than you originally thought you were going to take. You have to open your mind. You have to change your own perception of the world sometimes.
Those are the actual costs.
Those are the costs. Yeah. Right. Yeah. The cost means, I'm actually going to not get credit for this thing. Oh, that's winning at all costs? Yes, it is. That's all cost. The cost is I get no credit for the victory. How's that for a great cost? Some people can't handle that.
Heavy cost.
Some people can't handle that cost. They'd rather lose. Their ego would rather lose than not get credit for the victory. It's freaking ridiculous. So important thing to keep in mind. All players cannot win. And you might be that player that's not going to win this time. Here's one for you. Ambition breaks the ties of blood. Wow. Okay. You see what I'm saying here? Ambition breaks the ties of blood. Our ego, our ambition, we can get so wrapped up in trying to win that we'll screw over our family for that. That's wild. That's wild. It happens. Very disturbing that it happens. But it happens. But that people become so possessed with that idea that they can screw over their friends and family. So why is that important to remember? Well, number one, you need to check yourself because you need to make sure you're not doing that. And number two, recognize that other people might do that because it seems so foreign, right? You got your bro, And you think, there's no way they would do something against me. And yet, they can. So use caution. Ambition can break the ties of blood. Anger manages everything badly. We know that one all too true. Anger manages everything badly. 100%. We don't make good decisions when we're pissed. An envious man is a squint-eyed fool. Isn't that interesting? When you're envious and you're looking at someone that's with a squinty eyes, seeing what someone else has that you want, you're a fool. You're a fool. Don't let that happen. An occasion lost cannot be redeemed. A real basic form of this one. I don't know if you've ever heard me say this before, but if you miss a workout, you can never get it back.
Class.
Is that why you were smiling immediately? Like, if you miss a workout, you can never get it back. This goes back my very first SEAL platoon, my LPO, my leading petty officer. He would say, always go out. And the way he meant it was always go out to the bar, bro. Straight up. This was back in the day, bro. Like there was some alcohol being drank back then, unfortunately, myself included. But you'd always go out. Like we'd fly somewhere and you'd get a layover somewhere, and you think, oh, I'll go hit the gym. Nope. Well, go out. Always go out. Well, in my mind as a young kid, I turned that into always go out, like always go do the thing. And that became a pretty solid mantra. Always go out. Because listen, you don't always need to go out, and you got a chance to go do some training. Obviously, an operation, that's a no-brainer. Like if there's an operation going, we're going. Like I'm on that thing. I'm not going to be like, well, I'm not sure I'd like to. No, we're going. That's what we're doing. Because an occasion lost cannot be redeemed. You can't get it back. You can't get it back.
What's that tendency we have? Like, what is that tendency where it's like, oh, I can make it up tomorrow or whatever?
I would say laziness and or fear.
Check.
So laziness is like, well, I can do it tomorrow. Fear is like, I don't know if I should do this today. So say it's one of those two things. And going back to the movie Soldier, which I know you appreciate. Who's that guy that stars in that?
Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell. What a underrated movie. And to be quite honest with you, that movie didn't come out until later in my life, but that's kind of the way I envisioned myself as a child, right? And in that movie, the woman, he's a soldier of the future who just has one job, and that's to fight wars. And he gets abandoned on this other planet where there's sort of people living there, and he develops a relationship with his family. And the woman one time asks him, do you feel anything? And he says, yes. She's like, what do you feel? And he says, fear and discipline. The reason I say that is because there's two things that can make you not go. Fear and laziness. What overcomes both of those things? Discipline all day long. So whether it's lazy, gets overcome by discipline, or it's fear, overcome by discipline. Now, hopefully you feel more fear than laziness, but either one of them got the same answer. On the backside, discipline all day. Next one. Arrogance is the obstruction of wisdom. Yeah, check. If you already think you know everything, you don't need to hear, you don't need any information from anybody else. And so you're not going to get any smarter. And boy, isn't it crazy that you can be 30, 40, 50 years old and still be in that zone? Look, I get it. You're 18, you're 15. Bruh, you think you know everything. Cool, I get it. But by the time you're 30 or 32, you might want to open up your mind a little bit and put your ego in check, or you're not going to learn anything. Next, base gains are the same as losses. What does that mean? Well, there's the whole term base. Are you familiar with that term?
Negative.
So base in the way language, the old version of this word was like kind of bad, evil, base. It's when you read Shakespeare, it's like base thoughts will bring you. It's negative and borderline evil. It's not quite evil, and I would say it's sort of base would almost relate to our animalistic nature. I should have looked that one up, but if you use your sort of animalistic or brushing up against evil nature to achieve something, it's the same as a loss.
Check.
So when you cheat and you win, it's the same as a loss. And that's the same with anything in life, right? We're stealing something, it's not really a gain, it's a loss. You're cheating, it's not a gain, it's a loss. Next one, bad eyes never see any good. What kind of lens? Something I've been talking about a decent amount lately. What kind of lens are you looking at the world through? The thing that's interesting about this is we don't even understand that we have a lens on. We don't even understand the biases that we see the world through. And so if you are looking at the world through a negative lens, it's kind of funny right now. There's a lot of political things going on. And it's very interesting to watch people that would be cheering for one thing 6 months ago are now cheering for the opposite thing, and people that were cheering for the opposite are now cheering for something different. Anything that Trump does is bad. Anything that, boom, like that's it. Doesn't matter what he's doing, it's bad. So if that's the way you see it, that's the way you see it. Or anything that Trump does is good. And it doesn't matter what he's doing. If he's doing something, it's good. And that's the way you see it. So just be careful. No one's perfect. They're going to make some mistakes. Elon Musk, everything he's doing is great or everything he's doing is bad. No, it's actually he's a human. Apparently. Allegedly. He's a human. And so is he going to make some mistakes? Yeah, of course he is. Is he going to do everything perfect? Of course he's not. But depending on the eyes that you're viewing the world through, can really screw your vision up really bad. So be careful of that. Big heads have big aches. Big heads have big aches. A couple different ways to take that one. I mean, I guess you could go with the ego thing, right? If you got a big head, you got big aches. The other way to take that is the more aware you are of what's happening in the world, the more pain you're going to feel. That's another reality. Cats hide their claws. Check. They're all soft and they purr and they snuggle up to you and then they scratch your eyes out. Covetousness brings nothing home. Going back to the jealousy thing. You're going to see some themes here. That's one of the themes. Being jealous of people, coveting what they have. It's not going to bring anything home. Go out and get to work. Dude, you like the car that person has and it makes you mad, it makes you jealous? Go get to work and you can buy the car. That's my recommendation. The jealousy and the envy isn't going to bring anything home. It's not going to get you a new car. Cowards die many times before their deaths. Reality. Corruption of the best becomes the worst. Corruption of the best becomes the worst. So when the good people get corrupted, man, you got to watch out. It's going to get ugly. Cowards like adders coil and hiss. Oh, yeah. The loud mouth out at the bar, right? That loud mouth. He's scared. It's a good lesson to teach kids, is that the person that is talking a bunch and, being a bully, generally it's because they're a coward. So keep that in mind. Crimes generally punish themselves. There's an underlying theme in this of fate. Like if you're doing bad things, you're gonna get hung up eventually. I like that. I believe that to be true as well. That's why I say if you do the right things for the right reasons, you're going to win in the end. Well, if you're doing the wrong things for the wrong reasons, you're going to lose in the end. Totally believe that. I've seen it over and over again. Now, can the loss come at a heightened state, like after you've achieved a lot? Yeah, it can. By the way, you can achieve a lot and still have a miserable life because everything you've created is a lie. You can do that. That won't be good.
Plus, this one takes time, and
Yes,
nobody
it
wants
does.
to wait. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't really get this until I was a little older. You know, you have to be able to
Example.
Well, you just have to see some of this stuff play out, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it may take years where this dude screws you over, you know, and it's high road or low road, and you choose the high road because hey, what's the low road going to get you other than that little immediate thing, right?
Yeah.
And then, but if you believe that and you take that high road and you wait year, 2 years,
Yep.
it happens every time. It happens.
Yeah. That's true. That's the truth. You see that with careerists in the military, like someone that's just trying to get the next rank and they're doing the thing and they're kissing up and they're trying to grab the credit. They get promoted, bro, for sure. But man, they develop that reputation. Eventually that reputation catches up with them. So crimes generally punish themselves. Debt is the prolific mother of folly and crime. Oh, what a good one. You do not need the 2025 brand new Cadillac Escalade. You don't need it, dude. You are much better off buying 2017 Dodge Grand Caravan. You're better off than you are going into debt to get that Cadillac. That's the move. And when people go into debt, they start to freaking panic. And that's when folly, meaning dumb decisions or even crime. Bro, there was a SEAL that got rolled up for smuggling weapons. And I forget the details of the case, but he smuggled a bunch of weapons out of Iraq or Afghanistan and sold them in America. And he netted like, I don't know what it was, like 30 or 40 grand. And got rolled up and went to prison for 15 years or something like that. For 30 or 40 grand. It's just like when people start getting behind, man, they do dumb shit. So do your best not to get yourself in a position where the world has leverage on you. You don't want to be in that situation. You ever go buy a car that you really wanted? Have you ever done that before?
Yes.
You are at such a disadvantage when it comes to negotiation. You need to be able to walk in to buy the car that you don't even really want this car. In fact, part of you should be like, I shouldn't even buy this car. I don't even want this car. And go and negotiate, then you're going to do a much better job with negotiation. But when you're not, when you really want that thing, you get jacked. Well, when you get in debt, now all of a sudden you really need to get out of debt and you start doing dumb things. You start making emotional decisions. Next, deceit and treachery make no man rich. Now you could argue that one a little bit, right? First of all, we have to look at what do we mean by rich? As our brother Bob Marley said. Did you ever seen that clip before?
Yeah.
Oh, it's classic, right? What you mean wealthy? He's like, are you a wealthy man? What do you mean wealthy? You mean money? Maybe not. You mean friends? You mean joy? Yeah, very wealthy. So with that definition, I think we're all day. Now, do you see some people get rich while they're doing deceitful things? Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Story never ends there, though.
But the story doesn't end. Punishment takes some time. It'll get there. Bottom line, deceit and treachery are not going to work out well in the long run. Might get a little short-term, but you might get some money in the wallet. Where are you going to be in the long run, though? Deadly poisons are often concealed under the sweetest honey. Check. Debt is the worst kind of poverty. Again, it's one thing to be broke, but it's another thing to owe. Another thing to owe. So be careful. 1997 Dodge Grand Caravan, man, all day. I'll always be thankful to that 1997 Dodge Grand Caravan because I drove it for 13 years, and I owned that thing. And boy, what a great piece of leverage that is on the world. Just be like, oh yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm all good over here. I don't care who sees me driving this thing. I was definitely one of the top, probably the top 5 toughest guys in the world driving a minivan.
Actually,
but debt is the worst kind of poverty. Now, do you have to buy a house? Yep. Do you have to get a 30-year mortgage? Yep. Is that acceptable? Yeah, especially if you get a good rate. Right now, the rates aren't great, but you get that nice 3 or 4% rate, maybe even a 2.25. You probably won't see those again. But is it okay to go into debt? You're going to buy a house. You're going to live in that house for a long time. Yes, it's understandable. That's not the kind of debt we're talking about. The kind of debt we're talking about is a 2025 Cadillac Escalade that you cannot afford. So be careful. Envy is the rottenness of the bones. So good. Envy shoots at others and wounds itself. Eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. So basically, before those last two, being jealous and being envious are not going to be healthy for you. And the more jealous you are, the more it's gonna wreck you. I've seen it wreck people before. I've seen that just eat people up, man. So be very cautious. Sometimes you might have to impose it on yourself a little bit, because it's very natural for your ego to be jealous and envious. And sometimes you're gonna be like, lock it up, man. That person achieved something. I'll hear somebody make a quip about someone being successful, and I'll say, good for him, man. That's awesome. Don't you think that's kind of awesome? I got to put myself in check sometimes. Like, why does that person get? Oh yeah, it's because they worked hard. They just got lucky. Oh, did they just get lucky? They just happen to wake up and built this little empire that they got, or put that product together, or get that thing out there, or whatever. You just happen to do that? That was just luck? No, dude. You don't know what they did.
It's sticky too. But like people, it leads to this obsessive thing. That's when it gets real nasty, right? Like when.
What do you mean?
When envy turns into this obsessive, can't take your eyes off it, constant hating.
Yeah,
that's where it gets dark.
Yeah, there's nothing better to represent that than the story I tell about Seth, where I bought this new house, and it was a rundown, crappy house, but it was in a prime location. If you surf, we surf. And I had a couple people that I know, friends, we'll say, that had seen the house I was going to get and come by the house as we were, setting it up. We hadn't closed on it yet. And we're kind of like, they pointed out a bunch of problems with it. Of course, all kinds of problems, And I hadn't told Seth. I told him I was getting a new house, but I hadn't told him where it was because I didn't want to jinx it. So finally I get the keys to the house and I go, hey, bro. And this was in the early days of texting, right? Not that early, but this is 2012. I sent him a text like, hey, bro, I got the keys. Meet me at the new house. He's like, send the location. I sent him the address and he was like, yo. And he showed up and walked in and was like, bro, we're set. Bro, we are set. And he was just totally stoked. Totally stoked. No envy, no jealousy, just freaking stoked for his bro that got a kick-ass location.
That's our location.
That's our location, bro. That's where he was at, man. He's like, and I'm not kidding, an hour later, he showed up at the house with surfboards for storage on the location. So that's what we're doing. Don't let the envy, don't let the jealousy rot your bones. Next one, eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. And by the way, look, we can say that about our country, right? But let's not forget about ourselves. That's another way of saying discipline equals freedom, right? It's another way of saying it. You want to keep that freedom, man, you got to stay vigilant. You got to not let things. The thing that I like about the term vigilance is that you got to stay vigilant so you don't get surprised. Look, you get catastrophically hit with something, that we know that. But what happens is those little things, those little creepers that start taking away your freedom a little bit at a time. One donut at a time. It's going away. Got to be careful. Evil doing costs more than doing well. Yeah. Those little shortcuts you think you can take that are going to save you some time, save you some money, they ain't. Evil often triumphs, but never conquers. Again, this is like a short-term win. Doing something that's not 100%, short-term win, long-term loser. Evil minds change good to their own nature. And there's another theme in here from these things. And what I like, this is like goes back to the lens thing. Like if I'm evil and you're doing something, I'm looking for why the evil reason that you're doing it. So I look around the world and I change things to fit my own narrative because I'm a bad person. And that happens too often. Evil conduct is the root of misery. Sure. You're doing bad things. It's going to catch up with you. External sheep, internal wolf. As you can see, it's one of the few that I highlighted, right?
See that?
External sheep, internal wolf. This is another tangential connection to this is discipline. And no compromise and no mercy. All those things, which I say a lot, I only say them about myself, right? I'm not going to compromise with myself. I'm going to impose discipline on myself. And the way you carry yourself. Externally, like a sheep. Internally, like a wolf. Now, in this day and age, there's a lot of people that carry themselves like wolves. Right? There's like a lot of people that what did Craig Jones had a great little clip that I saw, of course, but it was talking about videos. It was talking about videos of apex predator animals and Navy SEALs and ice baths, and basically it was a bunch of people externally acting as the wolf, and he was making fun of that, rightfully so. So what this is saying is, be cool. Be quiet and carry a big stick, right? Externally sheep, internally wolf. You ever approach someone or been confronted by someone and you said to yourself, oh, this person looked like a sheep, and I can see now that they're actually a wolf. That happens. In jiu-jitsu, when you tie up with someone, you immediately know what is happening. Even if the person is, like Jeff Glover, 150 pounds. When you tie up with him, if you didn't know anything about this dude, but you knew jiu-jitsu, you would tie up with him and you'd go, oh, there's something going on here. External sheep, internal wolf. That's how it is. That's how it should be. Same thing when you get some of this big jack dude just freaking walking around like the alpha, and you tie up with him, you're like, dude, ain't happening. Ain't happening. Now, it's hard to do that on the regular in jiu-jitsu, like, because you can be a big, tough, alpha acting dude, and you can't get away with that for more than a couple days on the mats before you go, I thought I was alpha. I'm not. Externally sheep, internally wolf. Next one. Falsehood is cowardice. Truth is courage. Tell the truth about what's going on. False in one thing, false in everything. That's very similar to that. Have you ever heard the expression, the way you do anything is the way you do everything? Very similar, right? Very similar. And that's a good thing to keep in mind for the little things that you have to do on a daily basis. Just the little things. And it's a good thing to keep in mind when you're dealing with someone else and you start to see things that are not in line with what we're doing. Because if they're false in one thing, it's a reasonable assumption to make that they could be false in other things. Maybe not everything, but at least other things. Some of these proverbs are extreme, meaning everything or nothing. And I'm not an everything or nothing kind of guy. So even this one, false in one thing, false in everything, I'd be more like false in one thing, could be strong possibility false in some other things. So definitely true. Maybe it's not to the extreme that you're false in everything. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. Yeah, no doubt about that. Fortune makes a fool of him whom she favors too much. Fortune makes a fool of him whom she favors too much. So you get lucky once and you start counting on that luck. You got to be careful. You got lucky once, bro. Don't think you're going to get lucky every time. It ain't happening. My uncle was a car salesman, and he had a small car lot where he sold used cars. He's retired now. But he had his own little car lot. Probably had 10 to 15 vehicles for sale at any time. And he had some buddies that he was friends with and that kind of hung around the car lot with him. And one of his friends won the lottery back in the 80s.
Dang.
And won, I don't know what the number is, but the way they do the lottery, if you win the lottery, they take that whole bunch of money. And maybe sometimes I think you can choose a lump sum or you can choose to get paid out over time. I think the lump sum is a little less. Anyways, this individual chose to take the payment over time. And it was something like 20 years, maybe even 30 years. But it was 30 years and it calculated out to like, I don't know, 30 grand, 40 grand a year. So he'd won millions of dollars. And he had won it in his early 20s. And dude, don't quote me on the details of this, but I'm giving you the overall concept of the story. The dude had won millions of dollars, paid out over time. It ended up being 30, 40 grand a year. And so he didn't really ever have to work. And he just lived off this money. And what he did was he hung out with my uncle a lot on the car lot and hung around and, whatever. And so my dad was down there and went to the car lot and was, saying hi and whatever. And the guy was there. And he was like, well, this is my last year of getting the money. And next year I won't be getting my checks. I won't get my check for winning the lottery. And my dad said, well, what are you going to do when the check stops coming in? And the guy says, I'm going to win again. So just be careful, right? You get lucky once, you may or may not get lucky again. And if you think you're going to get lucky and you count on luck, we can't count on luck. Fortune makes a fool of him whom she favors too much. Next one, force can never destroy right. Check. Now, what you got to be careful of is force can impose itself for a prolonged period of time. And that can be problematic. If you look at some of these countries that have been ruled by tyrannical leaders, those tyrannical leaders aren't right, but they can stay in power for a long time. North Korea is an example. So it's not right, but they're just being imposed. Can't destroy it, but dude, you can suffer for a long time. From fame to infamy is a beaten road. Yeah. Yeah, from fame to infamy is a beaten road. Meaning there's plenty of ways downhill. And it's a lot easier to go downhill than it is to keep going uphill. So use caution. Gambling is an express train to ruin. Okay. Fair enough. Careful. Gambling. Do you ever gamble?
No.
You used to roll. Didn't you used to roll to Vegas a decent amount?
Yeah, but it was work. I was going to trade shows.
You never got out there on the blackjack table? Just got it on?
Occasionally, but very rarely. I don't like the idea of the chips being pulled away. I don't like that, man. I don't like losing money. It bothers me. And gambling is just, it goes too quick. I've never been a fan.
Yeah, I've gambled plenty, but never had the pull, never had the big pull for it. You know what's weird is, you ever heard somebody say, I have an addictive personality? Mm-hmm. And I think I said that for a while, probably when I was like 30. 25 to 30, like, oh, I have an addictive personality. It's almost like a little humble brag, isn't it? Do you think it's a humble brag? Look, I have an addictive personality. You've never heard that little humble brag?
It feels more like it has a negative connotation to me.
Oh, okay.
Personally, but that's probably because I'm kind of one of those people.
You legit have an addictive personality. Yeah, I guess you and I see it differently, because I would hear people be like, oh, I've got an addictive personality. It was almost like a humble brag. Mm-hmm. And I think I used to do that. I used to do like the humble brag of like, oh, I got an addictive personality. I could go good, just get so into stuff. But I realized probably 10 years ago, I actually don't have an addictive personality, I don't think. I don't get addicted to things. Gambling's one of those things where I could do it, have fun, go to Vegas, go to Tahoe, South Lake Tahoe, by the way. Hey-o. Good times. Yeah. Go to South Lake and gamble the whole time for 72 straight hours, by the way. Because we're not sleeping when we're in South Lake as a young single SEAL. It ain't happening. So gamble the whole time and just leave. Won money, lost money, doesn't really matter. And still be like, whether I ever gambled again or not, didn't really care. So, and drinking was like that for me as well. Was like, oh, we're going to party this whole weekend. And then on Tuesday at work, I'd be like, some guys be like, I don't need another drink. And I'd be like, oh, I'm fine. So I didn't really have that addictive personality. Now you're a little bit different.
A little bit different. Well, more practically though, I think is just easy for me to like come upon something and like incorporate it into the thing, right? Just into what we're doing. And
bro, you just made that sound so innocent. Like just incorporating the thing into what we're doing. Yeah, you're like, yo, I can see how you rationalize that.
Yeah. Well, that's like nowadays even still like practically, right? So I used to drink. Mm-hmm. It was a problem. Don't drink anymore. Haven't drank for a long time, right? But
how many years you not drink for?
It'll be 15 this month.
And that was cold turkey scenario. And how was that?
Caveat though. I was physically separated from any opportunity to drink alcohol for a period of time.
Jack.
But after that, I kept it going.
And how was the withdrawals?
Pretty bad, for that first period of time, first couple of weeks, because I was an everyday drinker. It was just an everyday thing. And I was hungover.
Did you think in the state of drinking every day, did you think you had a problem? Or were you just like, dude, this is just how I roll. I don't have a problem. Look at that loser over there.
100%.
Can't even handle their booze. I'm over here GTG. Just lies.
I thought I drank as much as any other kid my age, because I quit drinking when I was 23. Mm-hmm. So when I was 21, 22 years old, and I'm getting after it every night, I thought, so is everybody else. I'm a 22-year-old kid drinking. We all do this, So I didn't think of it as a problem. Was it creating problems? Freaking catastrophic issues in my life? Yeah. But at the same time, it's real easy to be like, just bad luck, whatever. You try not to make the connections in your mind between all the dots,
Mental jujitsu.
Straight up. Just rationalization, justification, all that stuff, especially in my brain, is pretty strong.
Yeah.
So.
Now, do you feel like you get addicted to other little things? Like sometimes people go from being an alcoholic, they become like a marathon runner. They become a workout fiend. They become a video game. What did you have another outlet, or did you find another outlet?
Yeah, 100%.
What was the next outlet?
So I definitely like threw myself into I started getting addicted to like the endeavors, like the things I was doing, right? So I started doing school, then working a job, then working a weekend job. For 8-10 years, I had 3 jobs essentially.
And was that a conscious, like, I'm just going to make myself busy, or was that just your brain going, I need to do this? Is what I'm doing. This is what feels good.
A bit of both, but honestly, I felt like I needed to make up for lost time. Like I felt like I was way behind the pack, and I needed to do more to get back to where I needed to be. But also being engaged in those things was helpful for me, especially like early on after not drinking. Instead of being at the bar and partying, I was working the door. I was security or whatever. And then eventually,
so you were still around booze, even after you quit.
Yeah, it was tough in the beginning, but after that, there was this point where I kind of started defining myself as a person who didn't drink. It became something I was very proud of, and it was like, you know what, I don't do that. So it's almost like I started looking at alcohol as a commodity. It wasn't even alcohol anymore. It was a thing that I was around that you paid for, and it wasn't like something I was thinking about or interested in, like, partaking in. Or
that attitude of it being weak. Because when I was a young kid and I was like straight edge and we were getting after it, it was kind of empowering, right? To be like, dude, you're weak and you don't have control, and it made me feel good, right? And then unfortunately, when I got in the SEAL teams, I was like, oh, that's what we're doing. And I got on board with that, which is, again, it's unfortunate. It's me being a young, weak-minded myself. Because when I was a young 15-year-old and I was a hardcore kid and straight edge was the thing that we were doing, and people that weren't doing it were weak and lame and stupid. And then I got in the SEAL teams and it was like, okay. And now I'm a little bit older and it's like, okay, well, this is what the frogmen are doing. And unfortunately it was like, okay, this is what we're doing. And bad move. But the idea, which I'm back to now, which is like, oh yeah, as I said earlier, it's like 100% bad. Alcohol is 100% bad. Drugs are 100% bad. Now look, maybe the psychedelic stuff, which I've never tried. I've never done any drugs before. But so like I said earlier, I can't sit here and say like all bad. Look, I know the psychedelic things have helped some of my friends out a lot. So the retreat, the voyage that they go on and all that stuff. But for a normal human that is going to day-to-day life and is using drugs in their day-to-day life, like, hey, you go and do some ayahuasca voyage to heal up your brain. Okay. I'm not pro or con that. I just know the fact that it's helped some friends. I also know it's made some other people messed up. So I'm not an authority and I don't have enough knowledge to speak about it. What I can tell you is this: if you're doing some kind of drugs, alcohol on a day-to-day basis, it's not good for you. It ain't good for you. And in this day and age, if you're thinking about doing drugs and you're a 15-year-old kid, you're wrong. And you're doing something stupid. You're doing something that can get you killed, but never mind get you killed. Like, what do you want to do with your life? These drugs aren't going to help you. They may seem cool at the time, but what you need to do is take the attitude that Carrie just talked about, the attitude that I just talked about, which is like, oh, if you're doing drugs, you're weak. You're dumb. You're putting your life at risk. You're putting your potential at risk. So don't do it. That's what we're saying. That's what I'm saying. You on board with me? 'Cause I want to quote for you. All right, that's what we are saying. So keep those things in mind. You can get derailed, by the way. And hey, here's another thing that's interesting is I have friends that have drank their whole life, no big deal, no factor. Literally no factor. And I've known people that have wrecked their lives and killed them. So there's two ways. And you know how you know which one you are? You know how you know?
How?
You wake up dead one day, or you don't wake up. You can't like, hey, let's run your DNA and we'll see if you're going to be an alcoholic or not. It doesn't work that way. It's like, oh, you just happen to like drinking and you just ruin your life. Or you happen to like drinking and you're fine. Why take that chance? I don't think it's worth it. I had a friend that, or my old neighbor's nephew was a meth head. And he said the first time he tried meth, that was the only thing he ever wanted to do for the rest of his life was more meth. That's how powerful it was. And that's the effect that alcohol can have on some people. It's like the same exact effect that crystal meth has. It's like, oh, this is what I want to do. So don't roll the dice. And by the way, even someone that lives, even someone that I sit here and says like, oh, no factor. It is a factor. It is a factor. Alcohol is a negative factor regardless of whether you can handle it or not. It's a negative factor. It kills your brain cells, wrecks your. It's poison. You're putting poison in your body. Don't do it. Check. Tangent complete. Next one. God helps the strongest. This is basically a message from God to lift. As far as I can do squats and deadlifts. Get one. Get some. God permits the wicked, but not forever. It's another good one. Time is the ultimate kind of adjudicator of justice. And God's going to let people hear wicked things, but not for the long haul. It'll catch them. And that's in the next one here. God's mill grinds slowly but surely.
That's so metal.
That's so metal. God's mills grind slowly but surely. So things are going to take time. And by the way, that should also be a positive thing, because if you're doing good work, you might not get rewarded for it today. You may not get rewarded for it tomorrow, but you'll get rewarded for it.
Joe Moss, he says this thing, time and pressure.
Time and pressure.
Every time I say something, he's like, time and pressure. And
it's true.
Factual.
Keep grinding yourself, and God's mill is grinding as well, slowly but surely. You'll get yours. And if you're doing good, you'll get yours. And if you're doing bad, you'll get yours. Hate and mistrust are the children of blindness. Now, what I like about that one is, if you feel like you don't trust someone, or you feel like you're hating someone, go and talk to them. Like go open your eyes, basically. It's real easy to sit in a vacuum and hear stories about someone and hate them, but go and shake hands with them and get to know them. Likely, you'll be able to overcome that. Hatred is the vice of narrow souls. Fair enough. Hasty climbers have sudden falls. Yep, no shortcuts. When you're on that rapid pace of growth, just be careful. The hasty climbers have sudden falls. Hell and destruction are never full. Ouch. Yeah, exactly. That's a just a little note, right? Just a little note. Hell and destruction are never full. There was a T-shirt. Well, the boys sent me one, but it said, "Make buds hard again. Teams are full." It said on the front, "Make buds hard again." It said, "Teams are full" on the back. We got enough. Well, hell and destruction's not full. And if you set yourself up right, there's plenty of room waiting for you. Here's a good one. He that covereth his sins shall not prosper. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to do things wrong. Don't cover them up. If you cover them up, you're going to have problems. So one of the rules in Task Unit Bruiser, no cover-ups. I think Leif and I talked about it on the podcast. You can't, if you try and cover things up, it will come out. It's 100% going to come out. Do the big cover up. We call it the big cover up. Oh, the big cover up. Nope, doesn't work. Can't do it.
Makes it worse.
Oh, it's good. It's definitely going to make it worse. And part of that came from when I was the Admiral's aide, that, I got to see all these things that were happening. And one of the things that happened was I got to get this story right, but there was an army element down south of Baghdad. They shot and killed a guy, and they planted an AK on him, and they got rolled up, and the sergeant went to jail for like 10 years. And what I know is, if you shoot someone and you report what they were doing and why the individual was shot, then as long as it's within the rules of engagement, you're going to be okay. So what does that mean? Here's the guy. He was by the side of the road. He was digging a hole. Like, there's reasons why people need to get shot if they're putting in IED in the road, etc. And these guys got rolled up, and I forget how they got busted, but there was, again, I'll cover the story at some point, but somehow they got rolled up and busted, and the sergeant goes to jail for like 10 years. And it was like, oh yeah, if you do a cover up, you're definitely going to be in a much worse position than if you say, hey, here's the situation, here's what followed, here's why the shots were taken. And the Army, when I got to Ramadi, the Army had a means of describing this, which was good shot, bad result. Meaning, here's what the shooter saw, here's why the shooter took the shot, and it turns out that the shooter was wrong. But the shooter didn't have bad intent, and this is a good shot with a bad result. Like, okay, check. So the other end of the spectrum is we're going to try and cover this thing up. And when you try and cover things up, it just don't work, man. It doesn't work. Comes out in the end. He that plants thorns must never expect to gather roses. Oh, that's a good one. He that plants thorns must never expect to gather roses. Yeah. To me, I think immediately of what you say, right? You're running around talking smack about other people. Like, keep your mouth shut. He who lives wickedly always lives in fear. Yep. Ain't that the truth? He who lives wickedly always lives in fear. Well, needless to say, the other end of that spectrum, if you're doing good things, you don't have to be afraid. He who seeks trouble never misses it. Ain't that the truth? You know, I don't know if you saw this clip. Echo and I were talking, and I was talking about the bus shit been happening thing by Theo.
Yeah, Theo.
With Theo Vaughn. When Conor McGregor got in trouble for throwing a hand truck at the bus, and Theo Vaughn did a little rant. This is the first time I ever saw Theo Vaughn, and he was saying that, you know, everyone's all surprised that he threw that he threw the hand truck at the bus, and he's like, bus shit's happening. Bus shit's been happening. People are surprised now. He goes, you go down to the Greyhound. What are you going to see? You're going to see people copping pills, selling pills, adults drinking Similac. And I just kind of said, you know, that's really, really true. People get surprised when bus shit happens, but bus shit's been happening. So guess what? If you're looking for trouble, you're going to find it. You're going out at 1 o'clock in the morning in the streets, and you're surprised when you get into a fight, or you're surprised when someone tries to harass you and you end up in a scrap and you end up in jail. You're surprised about that because you're drunk. It's like, no, if you're seeking trouble, you're going to find it. Next. He that boasteth of his ancestors confesseth that he hath no virtue of his own. Yeah. He that boasteth of his own ancestors confesseth that he has no virtue of his own. Yep. When you call back to your ancestors about why you're proud, like, might want to check yourself. He that gets money before he gets wit will be but a short while master of it. So if you get money like young, maybe you win the lottery at 22, it's going to be a short time that you're going to have that money. He that grasps at too much holds nothing fast. Can't hold on to too much. A little prioritize and execute hint here, right? We're trying to do too many things at once, trying to hold on to too many things at the same time. You're not going to hold on to any of them. He that is too secure is not safe. Apply this to your kids, right? You can keep your kids 100% safe, but you'll end up with a kid that is not safe. You might say, oh, I don't want my kids they might get hurt doing jiu-jitsu. Yeah, they might get hurt doing jiu-jitsu. They'll get hurt a lot worse getting beat down in the school system. So, and it's the same with us, right? There's just way too many ways to go through life without any risk whatsoever. And if that's how you go through life, you won't be in a good situation. You won't be in a good situation. He that sings on Friday weeps on Sunday. Yeah. Got to put that party animal in check. He that will not be counseled cannot be helped. That's an ego. He jests at scars who never felt a wound. Yeah. really is easy to open your mouth and make pointed comments about someone and a situation that they're going through when you've never gone through it yourself. It's always better just to keep your mouth shut. It really is. It really is better just to keep your mouth shut. You know, something negative to say to someone, like why? What are you going to get from it? And what are the chances that when you make a comment to them, you find out the real story? End up being an idiot? Next, he who waits for dead men's shoes may go long enough barefoot. Bro, you got to make it yourself. You got to do it yourself. You can't be waiting for somebody else. You can't wait for the dead men's shoes. You got to go out and make some shoes yourself. He who fears to suffer suffers from fear. Write that one down. Yeah, you're going to suffer. You're going to suffer. You're going to work hard. You're going to be on the mat suffering. You're going to be in the gym suffering. You're going to be in the classroom suffering. But if you don't do that, if you don't step out, you're going to be in fear. You're going to be in fear all the time. He who stumbles twice over one stone deserves to break his shins. Yeah, fool me once. That's on me. Fool me twice, that's on you. Fool me once, that's on you. Fool me twice, that's on me. That's a similar one. He who thinks he knows the most knows the least. Mm-hmm. Keep your ego in check. He who is so full of himself is quite empty. Bam. Hell is full of the ungrateful. His shield is turned the wrong way. That's the whole proverb. His shield is turned the wrong way. What does that mean? That means you're looking at all these other things that are attacking you. The problem is you. You are the problem. You're the person you got to watch out for. I used to brief the young SEAL officers that were in the junior officer training course, and one of the things I'd put up a picture of like Al Qaeda, AMZ. I'd put up like all the Hamas, Hezbollah. I like pictures of all of them, and I'd say, "Who's your worst enemy?" And everyone would make their guesses, and the next one would just be you. The next slide would be you. You're your worst enemy. If you have much more potential to hurt yourself than any of those terrorist organizations out there, guaranteed. So you might just have your shield turned the wrong way. You might just have your spear pointed at the wrong person. It's going back to that thing I said about telling yourself the truth. Yeah, point that spear of truth at yourself. If a fool has success, it ruins him. Check. If fools went not to market, bad wares would not be sold. Check. If 1, 2, and 3 say you are an ass, put on the ears. So if you got a bunch of people saying you're a jackass, you might want to like put on the ears of the jackass and actually listen to what they're saying. This goes into the reading the comments type thing. Because some people are like, I don't care what other people think. Listening to other people's opinions. I get it. And the reason I get it is because you're going to have people that are negative, of course. You're going to have some haters out there. You're going to have people that don't agree with you, and that's fine to an extent. But if you start getting 1, 2, and 3, and 5, and 10, now you're going, oh, wait a second. Maybe it's me.
This is feedback.
Yes, we call this feedback. We call this the feedback loop. It's sort of like when you're a boss and no one that you bring on the team seems to work out well. Do you think the problem is all the people you've been hiring for the last 5 years? Or do you think that you suck as a leader? Or you don't get promoted once? Okay. What about 5 times in a row? You just might be the problem. So listen, do you need to react to every single opinion that you get from other people? No. But do you need to pay attention to it? Yeah. And there could be a certain point where you say, this might be on me. Next, if thy hand be in a lion's mouth, get it out as fast as thou canst. You know what's interesting about that one is it's like situational awareness, right? We get in situational awareness scenarios where we're not paying attention to our freaking hand is in the lion's mouth. And once you recognize that your hand is in the lion's mouth, freaking get it out. So financially, right? You start seeing like, oh, I'm having a little trouble right now. Oh, stop your spending. Or, oh, I'm freaking hungover for the 5th day in a row. Oh, I'm in a bad situation. Get your hand out of the lion's mouth as fast as you canst. Let's wrap. We got a bunch more of these things to cover. Let's wrap this up for today with this one right here. We are bound to forgive an enemy. We are not bound to trust him. Again, going back to this theme of forgiveness, which we started with a little bit. Yeah, you got to forgive your enemy. But this doesn't mean you need to trust your enemy 100%, right? There's a big difference. Mm-hmm. And that's up, down, and across the chain of command. And by the way, this applies to yourself as well. Because just because you forgive yourself, you make a mistake. Just because you forgive yourself doesn't mean you're not vigilant anymore. It doesn't mean you don't trust yourself anymore. And this is one of those things where recognizing that you're not as aware of yourself as you should be is of utmost importance. And I go back to the situation that happened with me with my friend Grizz died. And so 1993, and the assistant platoon commander we had, Alton Lee Grizzard, just a great dude. And I was very, very good friends with him. Like, very good friends. Just an awesome guy, a charismatic, funny quarterback from the Naval Academy, gregarious leader, just a great guy. And we got along incredibly well, had a lot of fun, and he was killed. He was killed he was murdered in a terrible situation right in Coronado, California. Awful. And so when he died, I was really broken up and really sad. And as the way I was acting was about me, that I had lost my buddy and I was sad and I was going to miss him. And one of my other very close friends, actually was my actual best friend and roommate at the time, who knew me, who I'd gone through SEAL training with and done multiple platoons with. And he pulled me aside and he was like, hey, you're not the only person that lost Grizz. And I knew exactly what he was saying, and he was 100% right. And I realized at that moment, oh, you cannot trust yourself 100% that you're doing the right thing all the time. And so that's an important thing to keep in mind. And I talked about, forgiveness and forgiving yourself. We're bound to forgive an enemy. We're not bound to trust him. And I apply that to myself as well. Like, I've made mistakes, obviously, forgive myself, but I'm not like, oh, I forgave myself and now it's okay. Now it's okay to do this. It's like knowing that you can go to confession on a Wednesday or on a Sunday and being like, well, I can do this sin right now and I'll just confess later. I'll be all good to go. No, it doesn't work like that. So you have to keep in mind, you can forgive yourself. You can forgive your enemy, but that doesn't mean you abandoned any, for lack of a better word, any suspicion, any little bit of paranoia. You need a little bit of paranoia about yourself. I'm paranoid about myself. When I was in the SEAL teams, I was very paranoid about recheck my gear, make sure I have everything, reprogram those radios, make sure they're good to go. Like everything there was a little bit of paranoia that was fueled by a lack of trust. And when my buddy told me, hey, you're not the only person that lost Grizz, it planted a little seed of mistrust in my soul that I know from that day on, I need to make sure that I see myself properly. And I see myself from other people's perspectives. Because other people's perspectives are going to be different than mine. And if the only person the only perspective I'm seeing is mine, guess what that makes me? A self-centered loser. So we're bound to forgive an enemy. We're not bound to trust him. You have to forgive yourself, but that doesn't mean that you stop paying attention and you stop putting yourself in check and you stop assessing to see what you're doing, how you're doing it, and where it's taking you. So with that, we'll save the rest of this for the next podcast. And in the meantime, we can't ever stop. We can't ever trust ourselves 100%. We can't ever stop being a little bit paranoid. Just like we have to continue to push ourselves. We have to continue to stay vigilant in all aspects. That means we're working out. That means we're training. That means we're getting after it. And you know what that means? That means we need some fuel. And in this case, we're talking about Jocko Fuel. So check out JockoFuel.com. What's going on at Jocko Fuel right now? Kerry, what do we need? What do we got coming out? Anything special?
So when this podcast comes out, we should have 2 new flavors of hydrate powder out, which is going to be pretty sick. Island Orange and Tropical Punch.
I have them both. I mean, it got a little early. Yeah. And they're good to go. Yeah. 100%. Freaking tasty. Different people like different flavors, and those are really good. They're really good.
Delicious.
Gives you the just tropic vibes all day. For sure. The Tropical Punch and the Orange Tasty. When's the Coffee and Donuts coming out?
Coffee and Donuts is coming out in beginning of May.
Okay.
So that'll be a coffee and donuts flavor protein powder. For the people.
Yeah, it's very concerning, right? I know there's a lot of concern, a lot of debate. You know, is it the right thing to do for Jocko to come out with a donut flavored freaking protein drink? The answer is yes, right? The answer is yes. We ultimately got to the point, because listen, I put myself into a box. I painted myself into a corner where I can never actually have a donut again for the rest of my life.
No way.
With as much shit I've talked about donuts, with as much negativity that I've thrown donuts ways, there's no way I can ever have a donut again. I can't put one in my mouth. It would be wrong, morally wrong. But coffee and donut flavor. Look, am I anti-donut flavor? No, bro. Let's face it. I'm not anti-donut, but let's face it. I'm pro-donut flavor. But it's not something that we took lightly. So ultimately, we got to the point where donut and coffee, which is a tasty flavor, we went with it. So that's coming. We got some coffee and donut flavored milk protein powder coming your way.
Got a little 95 milligrams of caffeine in that one too.
So did we put the caffeine in it?
Yep. That's the coffee part.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir.
Are you sure about that?
Positive.
Oh, 100%?
100%.
Okay. Right on. That's cool. I know that when we made the sweet cream coffee RTD, we were like, well, do we put caffeine in it or not? Ultimately, the answer was yes. People are drinking coffee for a reason. Especially people love that morning little protein, 30 grams of protein plus the caffeine on the sweet cream coffee. That's breakfast deluxe. Right there.
Easy.
Yeah, easy. So we got that coming. JockoFuel.com. You can check that out. You guys know what we got. We got hydrate. We got protein. We got energy. God, this energy drink is good. So good and good for you.
Have you moved off the 50-50 tactical tea, or are you still going hard?
I'm pretty consistent on the 50-50 tactical tea, the
Well,
iced tea
it's
lemonade.
iced tea lemonade.
The iced tea lemonade is definitely my go-to flavor. As you can see, I'm kind of doubling up right now because I got the pink lemonade right here as well.
You have two open flavors.
I got two because I was kind of going back and forth. Yeah. But yeah, definitely the iced tea lemonade is my go-to. But all the flavors taste good now. Now look, back in the day, when the only person that was judging the flavors was me. It's a lesson learned, right?
Hey, your own perspective, right?
There's only one perspective we were looking at, mine. And if you had the early version of the Go energy drink, chances are you didn't like it. Now, you might have liked the way it made you feel. You might have liked the health benefits to it. You might have liked the fact that it wasn't going to turn you into a diabetic, but you probably didn't like the taste. That's because it was based on me. So we opened up our perspectives. Now we have like the full tasting profiles and everything like that. But you'll find one. You'll like them all. You'll probably love 3 of them.
I'm fully on the Blue Raz train.
Are you on the Blue Raz train right now?
Everything Blue Raz, man.
Oh, really? The hydrate too?
Hydrate, pre-workout. Yeah, all day.
Check.
Go. Yeah.
How often are you taking pre-workout?
I'm a regular user.
Just regular user. Daily?
Not
every day?
Not every day. But on my big days, like leg day, we're doing some pre-workout, but I do about a half a scoop, I'm not going crazy with it, but
I use it when I need it. And when I need it, boy, it's good to have.
It is.
It is good to have. Like you got that day where maybe you didn't get the right sleep. Maybe you expended a bunch of energy the day before doing whatever. Like maybe you rolled that jiu-jitsu and you're just kind of full body DOMs. Having that pre-workout in the chamber, if needed, is freaking good to go because you will 100% feel it.
Oh yeah,
and it gets you. I like the way I like the way it's sort of like being a frog boiled in water, where you don't really like you take and you're like, okay, cool, and the next thing you know, you're halfway through your workout and you're just getting after it, and you're like, oh, that's right,
yeah,
get some.
I got to be a guinea pig for Ashley at Jocko Fuel. She's one of our formulators, and she sent me a little sample of a new pre-workout that they're working on.
That one's extreme,
and I took that and I gave her some feedback on that one. It has the same thing as the regular one, where the big jump for the Jocko Fuel pre-workout for me is the mental. It's actually like the mental focus. I feel like I get really zeroed in, which is awesome because I'm not distracted by my phone or finding the right song. Or I'm just in the zone. And I was giving Ashley some feedback on that new formula. It's the same, except are you familiar with mind-muscle connection?
Proceed.
So this
Inform me.
This is where in a workout you're really thinking about the muscles that you're training.
This is like thinking about the growth of my muscle at this time,
right?
To make it grow more.
Yeah. So I'm in the middle of the lift.
Did you have a spiritual moment with this?
I did. Straight up. I was connected to the source momentarily during a lift after that pre-workout that Ashley let me try, and it was outstanding. So looking forward to that one.
Check. Yeah. What else we got? We got greens. God, somebody posted the other day a picture of a little kid just getting on the greens train.
That's how you know.
Well, that's how you know it tastes good. That became some of our best taste testers. Is like the entire Jocko Fuel fam of kids.
Yeah.
Like Joe Mass's kids, like they're drinking Molk, like 9 Molks a day or whatever. So the stuff tastes good. Greens, all the joint health stuff that you got. Check out jockofuel.com. You can also get it at Walmart, which is really convenient, man. You can roll into a Walmart, Wawa, Vitamin Shop, GNC, military commissaries, AFES, Hannaford, Dash Stores of Maryland, Wakefern, ShopRite, HEB down in Tejas. They're not playing around either. You go a whole wall down there of Jocko Fuel. Meyer up in the Midwest, same thing, wall of Jocko Fuel. Wegmans, Harris Teeter, Publix down in Florida, crushing. By the way, everyone in Florida, what up? Appreciate the support down there, just clearing shelves. Y'all are down there clearing shelves in Publix. So that's awesome. Much appreciated. Lifetime Fitness, Shields, small gyms everywhere. Jiu-jitsu gyms, whatever kind of gym you got. If you want Jocko Fuel in there, email jfsales@jockofuel.com. We'll get you taken care of. Also, you need some clothing when you train jiu-jitsu. You could use gi. You could use no gi. Either way, we got you covered at originusa.com. We got the training gear, we got jeans, we got boots, we got t-shirts, we got joggers, we got everything that you need, hoodies, the whole 9 yards. And guess what? If you're concerned about the tariffs and the way that's going to impact your shopping habits, well, don't worry, because at Origin USA, everything is 100% made in America. There's not tariffs going on anything because it's all American. The cotton is American. The buttons are American. Everything's American. The zippers are American. Everything's 100% American made. They're not made in a sweatshop overseas that's ruining the environment and enslaving children. We're not doing that. We haven't been doing that. American made. OriginUSA.com. Go get some. Support freedom. Support America. That's what we got going on.
We've also got Jocko Store, the Jocko Store at jockostore.com, where you can get your Discipline Equals Freedom gear. You want to represent good, being on the path with t-shirts, trucker hats, hoodies, beanies. You can get it at jockostore.com. We also have the Shirt Locker, which is a little subscription scenario where Echo Charles makes a new shirt every month.
Bro, look at you just got Echo's script.
Yeah, bro.
You just got it memorized.
Man. Yeah.
It's funny because just so everyone knows, there is no script.
No.
Like Echo just says the same, just like I do. Like we're saying what we say and you've been listening and you're just rolling it out.
100%.
Subscription scenario.
Subscription scenario. That's what we're doing.
Check.
Yeah. So interesting, good shirts, cool designs. Check that out at jockostore.com.
Right on. Also, primalbeef.com, coloradocraftbeef.com. We got steaks for you. Tasty steaks. Go tune into the steaks at coloradocraftbeef.com, primalbeef.com. We got you covered. Hot dogs, burgers, jerky, beef sticks. Colorado Craft Beef has beef tallow. We've been cooking in that. Now, you know what that is?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We've been cooking. I haven't been putting it on my face. Like some people are straight up putting the tallow on their face. Have you heard of this?
I have heard of this.
Yeah. I haven't done that. That's not really my thing. I've never really put anything on my face or my whatever. Yeah. You know, like that's just not my jam. But cooking in it, like you throw some, you need to cook something up. You need to throw some of them dogs in there. Throw that tallow in there. Never mind the other crap you can put in there. No, you're good to go. Put that beef tallow in there.
I'm a cooking with butter person.
Yeah.
I throw butter in there. It tastes better. Mm-hmm. You put beef tallow in there, game changer.
GTG.
Oh, man. Tastes incredible.
So check that out. coloradocraftbeef.com, primalbeef.com. Also subscribe to the podcast. Also check out jockounderground.com. That is where we do a lot of Q&A. We answer your questions. It costs $8.18 a month. If you can't afford that, then it's okay. Just email assistance at jockounderground.com because we want to have a platform that we don't have to worry about getting censored or whatever. That's why we made that. So check out jockounderground.com. Also, we got a YouTube channel. We got Psychological Warfare. We got a bunch of books. I've written a bunch of books. Final Spin, which is a novel. I've written a bunch of leadership books, and I've written a bunch of kids books. Way the Warrior Kid 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go and get those kids. Go get those kids books for your neighbors, for your nephews, for your own kids, the neighbors' kids. Just get these kids on the path, man. They need it in this day and age. And finally, Extreme Ownership, Dichotomy of Leadership. Written a bunch of books. Check them out. Also, we have a leadership consultancy. We solve problems through leadership. It's called Echelon Front. Echelon Front. That name is from being on the front. There's several different echelons of leadership inside the military. And at the highest end, you got the commander-in-chief. And then you got the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and it goes right on down the chain. And those are leaders, sure. But we're talking about the leadership where the rubber meets the road, the front echelon. So check out echelonfront.com. You want to come to one of our events. Our next event is in San Antonio, Texas. It's coming up in like a couple weeks. I think we have a few seats left, April 29th through May 1st, if you want to come and check that out. You want to check out one of our battlefield events, our council events, our field training exercises. We got you covered. Go to echelonfront.com. Or if you need us to come inside your company and check out what is happening and help you get aligned with your leadership, echelonfront.com. We also have online training, an online training academy. It's the Extreme Ownership Academy. And if you want to learn these leadership skills for life, go to extremeownership.com. Take some of our classes. There's some free classes. At least go take the free classes. At least do that. And there's no like big upsell at the end. No, no, it's not like that. It's just free information, free knowledge. Go check it out, extremeownership.com. Also, if you want to help service members, active and retired, you want to help their families, you want to help Gold Star families, check out Mark Lee's mom, Mama Lee. She's got an amazing charity organization. If you want to donate or you want to get involved, go to americasmightywarriors.org. Also, check out heroesandhorses.org and Jimmy May's organization, beyondthebrotherhood.org. And if you want to connect with us, you can check out Jocko.com. And on social media, I'm at Jocko Willink. Carrie is at Carrie Helton. Just be careful. Because when you go in there, you enter into the algorithm, bro, it'll grab hold of you and you'll ruin your whole life, basically, or waste it at a minimum. So just be careful. Don't let the algorithm get you. And thanks for listening. And also, thanks to all the men and women out there right now wearing the cloth of the nation. Thank you for your sacrifice and sacrificing your freedoms in order to defend our freedoms. Also, thanks to our police, law enforcement, firefighters, paramedics, EMTs, dispatchers, correctional officers, Border Patrol, Secret Service, and all other first responders. Thank you for your sacrifices to protect us here at home. And to everyone else out there, we can all be susceptible to arrogance and vice and villainy. But we also have the power to control those flaws and those shortfalls. And a good way to make that happen is to keep these temptations and their consequences of these temptations. Keep in front of mind. Think about them. If you don't think about them, that's when you get caught. If you don't pay attention to them, that's when they sneak up on you. And things like these Proverbs that we covered today can help you stay on the path. And that's all we've got for tonight. And until next time, this is Carrie and Jocko